Now, for all of the latest developments in Delta State, let's cross over to Asaba, where the newly sworn-in Commissioner for Information, Charles Anyagu, speaks to us. It's good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
All right, so first things first, congratulations on your reappointment as Commissioner. The Governor has just sworn in 18 new commissioners into his cabinet, and 5 are women, to basically encourage increased visibility and also participation of women in governance. Can you tell us more or speak more on that?
Well, you recall shortly after the dissolution of the cabinet on the 18th of May, that was, of course, last 2 months, I did say that the governor, just like a referee in a football match, thought it wise to take a second look at his team. And that the essence was to ensure that he's able to also bring in on board those who remain focused and assist him to realize the stronger data agenda and then finish strong. And so in reconstituting the cabinet, he took into consideration individuals who will come on board and not be distracted by politics, or who will also help him to further interpret the agenda that he has set for himself and indeed to meet up with the aspirations of Deltans, particularly in line with the promises he made in the course of the 2019 electioneering campaign. And so in doing so, he has also seen that the women and, of course, the female folks have played a great role in ensuring that the government is stable and that there is a time to also increase their participation in governance. And that is why out of the 18 so far, you have 5 females coming on board, and then, of course, assigned very, very critical ministries. But the essence of the reconstituting the ESCO is to ensure that everything work in line with the aspirations of Deltans and indeed with in line with the promises the governor had made to the people of Delta. For me, I feel very, very privileged being given the opportunity to once again return to the cabinet to continue to tell Deltans and indeed the entire world the many good things and laudable projects that the administration have been executing in the last 6 years running. And so we are quite pleased that some of us were privileged to be brought back to the ESCO. And I can assure you that our responsibility is to up the ante and try as much as possible to deliver in line with the promises the governor had made to the people, and of course not forgetting that our people do have aspirations that they desire that should be met by those of us who are in authority.
You're right, Commissioner. It's good to abide by electoral promises because the people are watching. But I'm sure people would like to know what was the criteria used in selecting these women in his current cabinet. And will that ensure productivity in the long run, you think?
Yes, it will. The criteria is that you recall shortly after that dissolution, the governor made it very, very clear that there seemed to be some form of distractions. Some individuals who are very much interested in the 2023 general elections are already consulting, and as such, their focus on the goals of the administration is being disturbed by that ambition. And that he believes that individuals are very, very free, particularly in a democratic setting, to pursue their own ambitions. But it will not be fair for that ambition to also thwart the agenda that he has set for himself, and indeed, in line, of course, in line with the promises he has made in the course of he made in the course of the 2019 electionary campaign, like I mentioned earlier. And so there are a number of those. Yes, they were quite hardworking in the course of that, the previous ESCO, but because certain forces are already distracting them, particularly the issue of the 2023 general elections, the governor felt that there's a need to excuse them so that they can concentrate on that their desire, which of course is not out of place. But beyond that, there are also certain communities or local governments where the governor feels that there is a need to also have a change to bring in individuals that can further drive the agenda better, while in some other instances, the desire to ensure that some persons further or possibly are in a better position to understand what he wants to achieve, and they are going to be in also in a much more stronger footing to delivering these promises which he has made. Because if you talk about stronger data, it means that the institutions need to be strengthened. It means that those promises that have to do with the building of more infrastructure upgrading the institutions also need to be pursued very, very vigorously. And so it became very, very necessary to bring in new persons on board, particularly the women who have played very, very critical role during elections. They have supported the government. They have ensured that we have even a much more peaceful society via the different counseling of their wards in their different communities. And so leaving them out will not be in the best interest of democracy and will not serve our state better. And so that's why you now have more women coming on board, and we are pleased that that is the situation. Perhaps in the course of bringing in more persons that will make up the entire cabinet, the governor will also likely also think of how to bring in some other women on board. But in all, we are quite convinced that the number of persons that have been brought on board clearly understands the direction of the governor. And in the course of the inauguration 2 days ago, the governor also made it very, very clear that it's important for everyone that have been so chosen to serve in this cabinet to hit the ground running. He asked them that it's important. He asked all of us to ensure that we take decisions no matter how hard, but with a human face, and believing that that hard decision, no matter what it looks like, should be able to serve the interest of the people and not the personal interest of those of us who have been privileged to be chosen as members of the State Executive Council. And so I'm quite convinced that coming back, we'll be able to perhaps redefine our focus for those of us who were privileged to be in the dissolved ESCO. And then for those who are coming on board, I'm also quite convinced that they clearly understand the direction of the governor, having also been in the state in the past 6 years, to understand that the administration have done so well in upgrading institutions, in ensuring that a number of our youths are gainfully employed through different job creation platforms, and of course the peace that exists in the state. All these are areas where we expect that every member of the new ESCO will strive to ensure that the governor finishes strong. And I don't have any iota of doubt that those of us who have been brought back and those who are joining us new will walk along this line, all with a view to ensuring that the governor finishes strong and, of course, that the vision of a stronger Delta is realized.
Now, just before we move on to other topics, I still want to hone in on the 5 women that have been selected to be in cabinet. This is the first time it's happening in the history of Delta. What sort of impact do you think this is likely to have in the state and with the residents?
Well, if you notice, beyond even the issue of women, we also have quite a number of persons that could be qualified as youths. The governor have always believed that you need to have a much more inclusive governance structure, because when you have women who contribute almost as much as 50% in terms of the voting population, and who also, when it comes to every political gathering and decision, contribute also largely to making much more quality a decision, you discover that you will not be helping the state, neither would you be advancing the cause of democracy, leaving this very, very vital element of the society out of governance. So you do know, of course, that the women are even asking for 50%. For me, that is not out of place. So, but that the governor has gone ahead to increase the number of women means that we are now having a much more inclusive governance structure. It means that the women will now also bring in their feminine understanding of a lot of issues to bear in decision making. Women have a way of taking a look at what the society wants. They are the ones who have been able to perhaps bring up our children. They understand a whole lot of issues when it comes to the welfare of the people. So bringing them on board into the cabinet means that they will not be in a position to also bring in that whole level of experience that they have in dealing with societal issues. And so we are quite convinced that beyond the issues of women empowerment, the bringing on board of more number of women into the cabinet also means that the government will be much more focused. The government will have opportunity of taking a look at those issues that not only affect women, but also affects youth, and of course also affects children, not also forgetting their role in taking care of elders. Of course, they are our wives, they are our mothers, even as they are also our daughters. So when women come on board, just to serve at the same time with men, it gives us the opportunity of having all facets of human society, because they just have that feminine touch that they bring to bear in a whole lot of decisions. And so we are quite pleased that the governor have deemed it fit to bring in these women on board. And we are quite convinced that they are coming on board with, to a very large extent, improve the quality of decisions that are to be taken, not only as it affects women, but generally as it affects the delivery of infrastructure and, of course, the welfare of the people. We're not forgetting the issue of security, which is also a very, very key element of the reason why government is even in place in the first place.
Indeed, Commissioner. And briefly, please, still talking about infrastructure, There seems to be a break in project execution, inspection and inauguration since Governor Ifeanyi Okowa dissolved the Executive Council in the state. Will that affect his administration to deliver before 2023? Briefly, please.
No, we have been on with the project commission and inspection. Even just yesterday, he inspected one of the very, very critical bridge linking the people of Ndukwa West and Ndukwa East. It's the Beneku Bridge. It's a very, very long bridge that has gotten to as much as 75%. And the governor has given a marching order to the Ministry of Works and the contractor that it must be delivered in the first quarter of 2022. Because with this bridge, these two local government will be able to communicate much more effectively than they are doing at the moment. Right now, if you get to that particular community, you see that they have what you call pontoon, this particular kind of boats that have to ferry vehicles across and then also carry a number of individuals for them to be able to commute in the other part of the local government. And so with that particular bridge that was inspected yesterday, we believe that when it's completed, a whole lot will happen between these two local governments and indeed other communities that are in other local government that are quite close to these two local governments. But beyond that inspection yesterday, not too long ago, just barely a week ago, about 4 days ago, the former governor of Cross River State, Lee Elimoke, was also in the state to commission a number of roads in a South local government area of the state. And of course, just barely up to 2 weeks ago, the governor also brought in some other persons to join him to commission the governor of Adamawa was also in the state to join him to inaugurate the central hospital in Asaba. And so there has been a lot of activities. So the dissolution of the ESCO did not reduce the speed that much. But the reason why he did not also waste so much time in reconstituting the ESCO is because he wanted to gain further speed. What the governor has said as part of the efforts that will be brought to bear on the issues and promises he has made is that a lot of inspection of ongoing projects will be taking place. He has asked the commissioners in the different ministries to ensure that they, of course, keep an eye on all the projects that are ongoing. And I can tell you for free that our 2022 budget is going to focus largely on the completion of a number of these projects because there are so many projects that are ongoing. Most of them are legacy projects that will require that we further fund the projects so that the engineers, the contractors are able to deliver not only quite on time, but also
Indeed, Commissioner Aniagu, but I would like you to hold your thoughts on those issues. We'll be right back with you. You're watching Newsday. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. Good to have you back on Newsday, and we've been talking with Charles Aniagu, Commissioner for Information, Delta State. He's still with us, talking about the happenings in his region. Now, it's good to have you back. 25 EXCO members were dissolved, but only 18 has been reconstituted. What is happening to the others?
Well, nothing is happening to the others. The fact is that the governor is the one taking a look at how he intends to bring back the other persons. Don't forget, there is no rule as to the number of that we must have 25 persons in the ESCO. So 17 is far, far more than the number that you could call the quorum. And so it's up to the governor to think of how he's going to bring in additional persons. But I can assure you that with this number, that a lot will be happening. But be rest assured that some other persons will be brought in. For instance, the Ministry of Health, you will need to look at who is that doctor that, of course, you need to have a doctor in that ministry. You also have to have a lawyer to deal with the Ministry of Justice. And so it's up to the governor to examine a whole lot of factors, both political and, of course, acceptability to the people of that particular local government. There are sometimes, in some cases, where you may have to either decide that a particular local government will have a particular ministry, and it just turned out that you are not able to have somebody who understands your vision in that particular local government along that line, particularly for the professional ministries. And so you need to also do some form of rethinking and possibly either move the ministry to a different local government, that is in terms of the mandate, or you take a look at the individual who will occupy that position. So there is a whole lot of things. It's better to be in a position to examine the individuals, examine their needs, and examine their ability to key into your vision than to just rush in and then bring in people who at the end of the day may want you to consider another change of cabinet, which will not be, of course, in the interest of the administration. The administration is not known to be sort that keeps throwing out individuals who are at that high level of executive decision. So anytime the governor is bringing in somebody, be rest assured that he has gone through a lot of processes, both in terms of showing who that individual is, his relationship with the people in his local government, because you don't just say a man is good and he's not able to relate to those in his local government. Because beyond being a member of the ESCO who is to interpret the vision of the governor, you also, as an executive member, just like those in the assembly, represent some people. That local government, that is their slot in the executive council. You need to also take back the decision of the council back to that local government for the purpose of unity, for the purpose of peace, for the purpose of even getting them a level of satisfaction. You are also, to a very large extent, to help the member of the House of Assembly and indeed to help the governor to bring up the issues that affect that local government and indeed other local governments in the state to bear when these issues are being discussed at the Executive Council. But of course, don't forget that once you are a commissioner for the entire state, not only for your local government. But it's expected that issues of your local government are supposed to be known to you, and that you should have that human face that makes people in your local government to relate with you. Because it will not be in the interest of the party, that's the PDP, it will not serve the interest of the government, led by Senator Dr. Ato Ifeanyi Okowa, and of course the interest of Deltas. If you bring in somebody who just come and then he's free-floating, only because you feel that he understands the governor. The governor wants people who are loyal, quite all right, but he wants people who will be much more loyal to the state and indeed deliver those dividends which he has promised the people. And so those are some of the issues that he is considering. We are quite convinced that in the not too distant time, some of those other ministries that have not been filled up at the Executive Council level will be handled. And so be rest assured that that's not going to be far too long.
All right, then, let's move on to other topics now. I wanted to gauge your thoughts regarding Senator Peter Nwaboshi, who is representing Delta North Senatorial District. As we know, he has been in a rift with Governor Okowa, and he recently defected to the APC. So how do you react to that?
Well, I'm happy you said he has been in a rift. The governor is not in a rift with him. But what I can tell you is that everybody who is a Delta and who understands the political equation in Delta will tell you for free that Senator Nwaboshi is in the National Assembly on the political scholarship of Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa. Otherwise, there is no way he would have been in the Senate. And so he knows that deciding to dump the PDP or to leave the PDP, even after he was suspended by the party, meant that he's no longer going to even contest that position, because he knows that even if he contests that position, in his local government, every Delta will tell you for free that he will not win. And that's why I said that he's on a political scholarship. And so having abused that scholarship, you be rest assured that he's not going to enjoy it again. But that's not all. We didn't want to even let that disturb us for any reason. But since you asked the question, I also like to remind you that for about 6 years he has been in the Senate. We are not too sure that he has taken up issues that affect our people to heart in communicating legislation and other things in the hallowed chamber of the Nigerian Senate. You do know that Fulani herdsmen, or rather herdsmen who are armed, have had cause to disturb a number of communities, not only in other parts of the country, but of course in Delta and Delta North that he represents. He has not for once been able to inform members of the hallowed chamber the need for us to tackle such issues. There have also been a whole lot of issues. The issues of agitations in the creek on account of not being given a reasonable percentage in terms of what is to come with respect to the PIB. He has not been able to raise his voice to speak in defense of his people. The only thing that is crying is because he has seen that as it is, he just wanted to enjoy that scholarship again, but we feel as a people, some of us believe that the governor should not extend that scholarship to him. How do I call it scholarship? Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa is from the Delta North Senatorial District. Beyond being the governor of Delta State, he was also in the Senate representing that senatorial district between 2011 and 2015. And the people of Delta do know that he represented them very, very creditably, not only even those in Delta North. And because of his grassroots grasp of the state, they begged the people in the course of the electioneering campaign in 2011 to please, in 2015, to please allow Senator Nwaboshi to proceed to the Senate. He knelt down even in some instances. The people said no, but because of the respect they have for Senator Okowa, they agreed. And having enjoyed that scholarship the first time, the governor felt, okay, no problem. After all, they are the same party. In 2019, the governor came back again to plead with the people to allow him to also extend that scholarship to Senator Nwaoboshi. And the people agreed because of the love they have for him. And so if this time around, he's hoping that he will enjoy that scholarship a third time, and because he's discussing with some other persons that he wants to perhaps pursue his own political ambition, which we don't have any problem about, it is his right to so do, but we are telling you that we are not disturbed, that he himself knows that to win his word is even going to be a problem for him, because in actual fact he's not on ground. And be rest assured that that scholarship will not be available for him to enjoy again, because he has not represented the people effectively. In short, we will not even hesitate to apologize for even extending that scholarship to him, because we believe that another person would have been able to make good use of that position for the good of the people of Delta North and indeed the entire Delta State. So we are not disturbed. We wish him well, and we just do hope that wherever he finds himself in this political equation, that he's able to do what will serve him, and possibly if he can proceed to doing things that will serve our people, we will welcome it. We don't have anybody, we don't bring anything against him, we don't begrudge him, but be rest assured that he knows that he will be wasting his money by the time he decides to go and pick up form, because he does not have what it takes to win any election in Delta North senatorial districts. And he knows that he has even more like become even a liability to those he has gone to join.
And on that note, we've been talking about the development issues in Delta State, Nigeria, and we've been speaking with Charles Aniagu, Commissioner for Information, Delta State. Thank you for your thoughts on those issues. Good to have you.